The Piano Teacher is a story about the worst behavior in men and women, the most grotesque parts of our natures pushed into the realm of inconceivable horror. Better than food, man. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Hope you guys are doing very well. This was a book sent to me recently by a very kind fan of the show and recommended weekly, maybe daily. The Piano Teacher by Elfriede Jelinek. The English translation was done by the same fellow who did Story of the Eye, a man from Vienna himself named Joachim Neugroschel, who unfortunately passed away back in 2011. Brilliant man. There's a beautiful song by Scott Walker off of his album Scott 3 that's called Rosemary. A song I love to sing out loud, but it makes me cry, so I only do so when I'm alone driving in pouring rainstorms. Manly, I know. Wake up, Rosemary, and wipe your teary eye. I fucking love Scott Walker. I mean, there's a really sad stuff, but then you can jump right back to like Scott 1 or Scott 2, either of those albums, and you have stuff like the Jacques Brel covers of Jackie or Matilda. Either one of those will actually, what is it? Jackie. The song Jackie, yeah. The song Jackie can put you in a great mood. I mean, that's a brilliant way to start the day. Just wake up, get the coffee, and listen to Jackie by Scott Walker. You'll probably have a good morning. It's kind of show-tune-y, but honestly, man, that dude is hardcore. Scott Walker is hardcore. I mean, even the trajectory of his work, I mean, it's kind of show-tune-y back then, but then he does like stuff like, Night Flights and Tilt and The Drift and all this really intense experimental stuff. Anyways, you gotta check it out. Rosemary perfectly captures the tragic portrait of the aging woman, alone and forgotten, staring out the window, wondering where time went. Like the book mentions, beautiful women who age are eventually forgotten, just like the major majority of classical composers from bygone eras. Everyone has to stand before the judge of history. Every day, a piece of music, a short story, or a poem dies because its existence is no longer justified in our time. And things that were once considered immortal have become mortal again. No one knows them anymore, even though they deserve to survive. The Piano Teacher is about a severely emotionally damaged, failed concert pianist who becomes an instructor at a Vienna music conservatory. Erica is around middle-aged, quiet, seemingly brilliant, and fiercely critical, who, whether from cowardice or manipulation, is unable to separate herself from her domineering Norman Bates-esque mother, whom she not only shares a small apartment with, but also her bed. There's a brilliant description of her mother in the very first pages of the book. The TV-addicted maternal dictator is described as such. Inquisitor and executioner in one, unanimously recognized as mother by the state and by the family. It's this emotionally manipulative, quasi-incestuous relationship that is so repellent, you just know it's gonna end badly. Erica's father, from what we gathered, died long ago after going insane. This was just one of the many traumas she's experienced that manifest themselves in her extremely disturbing behavior. Sometimes through the verbal abuse of students, often through the physical abuse of herself, using things like razor blades or clothespins. Narrative content aside, the writing style is beautiful, fluid, filled with tight, controlled sentences dropped like bombs. Pleasant and easy to read, but totally not easy to read, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if Jelinek's musical sensibilities influenced her writing, because the structure and composition is immaculate. It flows very nicely like the composers mentioned in the book. Erica finds solace in music. Schumann, Schubert, Bach, Beethoven. She's gifted and she understands music better than most. There's a fascinating interview I just listened to on the Jordan B. Peterson podcast about music. He's interviewing this composer. In this lecture, Peterson mentioned that even the most nihilistic people still gravitate towards music and can find some sort of peace or pleasure therein, some sort of meaning. And this is profound. Music is the place where the last bastion of hope remains for Erica. Like any other area of study that is valuable and requires a lot of hard work to reap the intellectual benefits from, there are circles in music schools where the snobbery can reach a screaming pitch of solipsistic narcissism. Erica is the bitter, callous, inflamed manifestation of that festering wound on the face of music studies. Her mother has somehow convinced her that she is totally inferior and at the same time better than everybody else. So after failing a big performance, which of course crushed her dreams, kind of a those who can't teach sort of thing, rather than learn something and grow as a human being, she seems to have cut open this black hole inside herself, which is filled with this poison delivered by her mother. A lot like some sort of hideous familial narcotic like crocodile, which is 10 times the strength of heroin, yet rots the flesh off your fucking bones. We all continually seek to give meaning to our lives, to leave something honest, to leave something that lasts, which is to say something true, and to be loved for it. The Piano Teacher is about a woman who desperately needs to be loved in every sense of the word. Loved and recognized for her musical abilities, and just loved by a man and by her family. Denied all of these in any healthy capacity, the traumatic issues melt into one of the most ferociously neurotic characters ever penned. You can capture any woman if you exploit her awareness of her own physical inadequacies. Very Thomas Bernhard, also Austrian, I think. All tragic, beautiful love stories are seen through the eyes of the character, who becomes fixated, obsessed with someone. In this case, as you could have guessed, it's a student, Walter, who's like 15 to 20 years her junior. When she spots another younger, prettier student giving him attention, she breaks a glass and hides it in the student's coat pocket. Pianist, remember, so her hand is sliced open and she's unable to perform. Erica clearly recognized the coat both because of the fashionably loud color and because of the newly stylish mini shortness. At the start of the rehearsal, this girl distinguished herself by trying to come on to Walter Klemmer, who towers head and shoulders above her. Erica would like to find out how the girl can give herself airs with a slashed hand. Her face will twist into an ugly grimace in which no one will recognize her former youth and beauty. Erica's spirit will prevail over the assets of the flesh. Great line. Walter becomes interested in her and she verbally abuses him during lessons, which, of course, just eggs him on and makes him follow her around like a dog. And eventually, she begins to desire him so much, with no real experience in a relationship, and this cataclysmic interior neuroses, that she writes him a letter detailing the pain that she wants inflicted on her by him, in nauseating detail, describing how she wants to be tied up and to completely submit to him, to be beaten, to be pissed on, to be raped, to be completely, entirely devoured by him. Pain itself is merely a consequence of the desire for pleasure, the desire to destroy, to annihilate. In its supreme form, pain is a variety of pleasure. She's obsessed with control, and this is partly a way of taking control. Walter is so horrified when he finally reads this letter that he's enraged, especially after an incident when he is unable to perform, and I do not mean on a piano. So, like I mentioned, with the extremes, the worst possible outcome occurs, which is to say, he actually does what she asks. There is no truly sympathetic character in this book, and neither gender is made to appear superior. Jelinek reveals the worst traits in both and magnifies them to the extreme, and successfully avoids any easy explanation in this particularly complex, twisted dynamic between the sexes. It's great. My favorite books all seem to be, at least in part, transmuted autobiographies. The Piano Teacher is at least partially autobiographical. Jelinek was accepted into the Vienna Conservatory of Music when she was very, very young, and had an immense amount of pressure put on her at a very young age, and the trauma that resulted from that is totally understandable. She also lived with her mother for a long time. Because of this, or in unfortunate addition to it, she suffers from severe agoraphobia and social anxiety, which apparently she said doesn't even allow her to visit a movie theater, much less accept the Nobel Prize in person, which she did win. Even though all of the characters are appalling and it is this close to hopeless, I thought it was a beautiful, insightful story. I thought it was excellent. Better than food. It is impossible for me to separate Erica from Isabelle Huppert in Michael Haneke's adaptation of The Piano Teacher. I saw the film long ago and I remember being so horrified and repulsed by her, which of course meant that she had succeeded in spades, that I avoided any film with Isabelle Huppert. I am sad to admit, but it was such an effective performance. I think it was the first film that I saw Isabelle in. I only saw it once, and I always thought the film was magnificent, even though it made me extremely uncomfortable. Typical Haneke. Now, of course, Isabelle Huppert is one of my heroes. She's one of the greatest actors. So I highly recommend you check that film out. It's just as good as the book. This will go pretty quick, too. I'm moving, so we're going to say goodbye to this. This may be my last review here. We'll see. This show is entirely supported by kind people such as yourself. So to help me build this, to help make this stronger and spread the word, pun intended, about good books, please visit Patreon.com/booksarebetterthanfood. There you can check out my next big goal for this year, which I'm going to make a video about soon. It's very exciting and I'm sure you'll be interested. So thank you very much. Thank you, of course, to everybody who has already donated. You mean everything to me. Seriously. Thank you so much. And I'm reading Thomas Pynchon, I swear, but god damn it, Gravity's Rainbow is a long book, man. Please subscribe, talk some shit in the comments section. Hope you guys are all doing very well. Always remember life is far too short to read bullshit, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great night, guys. Ciao.